Good evening. My name is Dr. Patricia Bernard. I'm also known as Dr. B Stress Free. I am excited and it is a pleasure to be here today to be able to announce that this is our first podcast. And our podcast will be all about you. It's going to be all about real talk for you. You know, I did 34 years with the Department of Army, retired early. I've been retired now for 10 years. I want to talk to you about being able to find your purpose in life. I want to talk to you about being able to retire early. You know, I went to Beijing, China, and I recall on that trip, we walked the Great Wall of China, but there was a lot of people out in the streets dancing in the parks with their grandkids and that. And we asked them, well, what's going on? They said, well, you know, everybody here retires at age 55. Now, isn't that interesting? But in today's society, I know in the United States, guess what they're talking about? I think they're talking about making people retire even at an older age. So, you know, the younger you can retire, the more you have time to do the things that you want to do. So, what we're going to be talking about is health, how to stay healthy. You know, we're going to have health experts telling us how to stay healthy. You got to move to the groove. Yesterday, I played tennis and I played pickleball, and I just want to stay active. And the other thing is, we're going to talk about wealth. You know, unfortunately, you know, according to our history, if you think about how things have happened, we've only been, what, 200 something years ago, we didn't really have the freedoms that we even have in today's society. And we want to make sure we keep those freedoms and we continue to move forward because we're very educated. And my goal is for us to be educated, for us to educate, motivate, and elevate the lifestyles of others. And that's what we're going to do on this podcast. We will be coming to you live every Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock p.m. And we're going to talk to you about health, and we're going to talk to you about wealth, and we're going to talk about education, because education is the foundation to no matter what it is that we want. My dad used to always tell me, once you get that education, no one can ever take it from you. When I started my semi-truck company, didn't know much about it, but guess what? I know enough now to be dangerous. So whatever it is that you're looking to do for in life, entrepreneurship, that's the key. Because in today's society, guess what? My retirement and some of the ladies that I have that are going to be speaking this evening, they have very good retirements. But guess what? I remember them telling us that pensions were going to be no longer available. And I couldn't even imagine that, because why were we dedicated to our jobs? We were dedicated to our jobs because we knew that one day we would be able to retire, and that's what was going to take care of us. Our children in today's society, guess what? They don't have what we have. Social Security is not even going to probably be around. So they need to understand entrepreneurship. They need to understand how to start their own business. They need the education and all of that and the background. And so therefore, do we need to align our educational system to, or redesign it to fulfill the needs of the students of today? So what I'm going to be doing today is I want to introduce to you one of our guest speakers, and I'll tell my story along the way, you know. But what's so important is being able to bring on the experts and the people that understand what's going on. And I have a young lady here that I would love to introduce to you. And first, I'm going to start with one young lady who we have been able to travel. We've been doing some great things. And yes, I love to travel to unravel. That's another way to relieve stress. I did my doctorate on identifying the stressors and coping strategies of women in leadership within corporate America, education, and governmental agencies. And stress is a silent killer. It is killing us. And so what do you enjoy doing? We want to help you find your purpose. So this young lady, she's gone on a few trips with me. She is a retired Detroit public school teacher. We were talking quite often this morning. Actually, we talked about a few things. And I want to introduce you to her, because one of the things that we found out is that, are the children even going to school the way that they should be going to school right now? And I don't know that they are. I'm hearing some things here. So Miss Barbara Selley, how are you? Okay, you got to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm Barbara Selley. I'm a retired school teacher from the Detroit Board of Education. I also have dealt with the corporate world. I was in the corporate world for 22 years and retired from there. But most recently, the educational system has sparked an interest in the fact that the children aren't going to school, and the children, since the pandemic, we've had a shift in the atmosphere. The shift is that the children are refusing to abide or adhere to the quote that the standards that has been set before them. They are changing, they are shifting. They want to be influencers, they want to be entrepreneurs, but they need guidance. And it's fine to be an entrepreneur. That's perfect. That's what we need. However, we also need the education behind that. We need to be able to do it properly to keep the corporate world from taking our businesses from us or coming through and just destroying our business. So education is one of the things, or one of the topics that I would like to talk about, as far as why aren't the kids going to school? How do we get our kids to go to school? How do we influence our parents to get the children in school?
Wow. You know, and I'm understanding, I'm hearing that since the pandemic, it's worse, because I remember that if a parent don't have their kids go to school, they have a truancy officer, is that what they call them, that comes out and actually talk to the parents and can actually arrest them for not doing what they're supposed to do. Is that true?
Sure. They used to have truancy officers. I don't know. They didn't have very many before I retired, but they did have truant officers. Now there is some kind of, not anymore. They don't. Okay. So there is I don't know if it's a law stating that your child must go to school. You must, as a parent, provide shelter, food, and education. And when I was in the system, I knew of parents who had to go to court because they neglected to educate their children, and sending them to school was part of that.
Wow. Wow. I know you were sharing earlier with me today about a young lady who you let them know that the child never did show up in class. And then you called the mother, and the mother cussed you out and said you didn't know what you're talking
Oh, yes.
about.
Oh,
And
yes. They come in one door. In high school, it's a little different than elementary school. In high school, they come in one door and go out the other door. And at the end of the report card marking, they're failing, and the parents want to know why. Because
Mhm.
as a teacher, it's your responsibility. If they come, you should be able to teach them something. But if
Right,
they don't come, you can't teach them, because
right.
you can't learn if you're not there.
So do you believe that the system has, what about our educational system? Do you think our educational system has failed, or is it the parents that are failing, or what do you think?
It's a combination of both. Um, Nowadays, parents, they don't have time. They don't have the background knowledge to help them with their homework. Um, so schools are doing what they can do. Schools are setting up after school programs to help the children get their homework. However, parents are, if they're not at home or working, they're out partying, and they don't have the time, or they're not taking the time to spend with their children. But it is the parents and the school system. We have to work together in order to get this generation. This Gen X generation is going to be something different that we've never seen before. They're going to create another type of atmosphere that we're going to be living in.
Hmm. Well, and again, even with the school systems, entrepreneurship is something that I feel that uh, they need to beef up in the with the classrooms and stuff like that. Because again, these children have to go back to. I remember we had home economics. We learned how to cook. We learned how to do some of the basic needs, and you're finding that a lot of those children are lacking that, correct?
Exactly. They do. They need to incorporate home economics, work, wood shop. They need to uh, all kinds of things like they do have a program where kids go to school half the day and then they go to their skills the other half of the day, being that the Gen X generation, they are interested in entrepreneurship. You need to take them where their interest lies, and they are interested in developing businesses. They want to get on and be a social media influencer. They want to get on there and whatever they do on TikTok, or they just want to be able to be their own boss, which is absolutely fantastic. However, you have to have the background, you have to have the ability to know how to go about doing that, setting up an LLC corporation, getting your license, get your name registered. You have to be able to do all of that before you can have a successful business. And it's our responsibility as a prior generation to try to push them in the right direction, put them on the right path.
I agree. I agree. I know you had mentioned something else too, that some of the schools are starting to put wash machines in the schools so they can wash the kids' clothes. See, that is just crazy to me.
Yes, it is. And it's like, why would a kid have to go to school and wash their clothes? Oftentimes, as high as water bill is, and all these floods and the water main breaks and people are getting their water cut off. They don't have water at home. They don't have electricity at home. They see, oh yes, they are. They're starting to put washing machines in school. Now, some schools
Yes.
already had that due to the fact that the principals knew, okay, these kids have got to have washing machines. Because as a teacher, you are providing combs and brushes and toothbrushes and face cloths and sweaters and hats and gloves, and you're being a parent as well as a social worker, as
Mm,
well as a psychiatrist. You have to listen to their problems. You have to make sure that they are fed, because a child that's hungry will not learn absolutely anything. A child that has no sleep, they're going to put their head down on the desk and sleep. You're not going to get productive students.
right. Wow. Well, Miss Barbara, I'm glad you were able to retire and get your life back. I know you love to travel, and that's some of the things that we do. But I hate to see teachers like you go, because I don't know if the new teachers have the heart, and they're definitely not paying them what they need to pay them. So I'm definitely for them paying more for our educational system. Uh, as far as making sure that these teachers are motivated to stay in the school system, all of that.
That's true.
I know that they're working on that in the state of Michigan. I'm not sure. I know I have another educator on here from the state of Florida, and I don't even talk about Florida, but that's ooh, that's another whole topic in itself. Um, I think they have to get permission from the parents to teach African American class or say anything about African American history, and it's just ridiculous. Okay, so we as people on here, we're going to have to take charge of our future. We're going to have to take charge of what's going on. And a lot of people don't want to listen to the news because either they got too many people to the right or too many people to the left sided. But I'm going to tell you something. We got to pay attention to what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, because right now, the future coming up, which are going to be the children as we get older, they're going to be the ones that when we go to the hospital or wherever, we got to see them take care of us. We got to make sure that these children are getting educated and that, the parents are getting what they need. And Barbara, I know you mentioned it earlier, and I'll say it, hey, if you got to cut them off, cut them off everything that they're getting. I bet you if they get cut off of their assistants and they don't get their check, they're going to show up and talk to somebody. And we're going to say, hey, look, you got children that aren't going to school. Your kids have to go to school. You know, we're going to take care of the children. We're going to give you a job too. You don't have a job? We're going to find one for you. Period.
That's right.
Something has to happen. Something has to happen. And it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. So Miss Barbara Selley, retired Detroit public school teacher. I know you've seen a lot, heard a lot, and thank you for your service. And we just have to come up with solutions. And that's what this podcast is going to be all about. Not only are we going to talk about problems, we're going to also talk about solutions. And that's what's so important is that, you know, either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So thank you so much. So what I would like to do now, I want to switch gears. I have another young lady who is a good friend of mine, and we have traveled to, you guys, anybody close to me love to travel. And I'm gonna tell y'all that now, because that's just, to me, that's educational. They say if you haven't traveled or gone anywhere, it's like reading a book. You stay on the same page. You'll never get anywhere. You'll never have any vision. You'll never understand other cultures. So travel is education. And so that's what we also believe in doing. So what I would like to do now is to switch some gears here. And I want to introduce you to this lady. This lady, man, oh man, she's on fire. She's also a Detroit public school retired teacher. And she's also the owner and founder of Jones and Frederick Enterprise, Inc. She also has a foundation, a scholarship program that she has. It's called Harold and Marzetta B. Jones. And she's put together a foundation. And I'm just excited for her to come because you know what? She's an answer. She's the answer to some of the things we're talking about today. Being able to come up with a scholarship program. And we need to help support her foundation. So without further ado, Miss Jacquelyn Jones-Frederick.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. You made me sound important. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So
And anybody knows me. And thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen, on the call, the podcast. Good evening. I am truly elated to be here tonight with Dr. Pat, a good friend. Met her through the traveling world, and look where we are today. But we've been through ups and downs, but always moving forward daily. And my mantra, my acronym for my life is HOT. I'm humble, open, transparent. So I do a lot. I'm also a Michigan vendor. I tutor through Michigan Rehabilitation Services. That started back when I was going through a divorce. And my accountant said, Jackie, IRS is going to eat you alive as a school teacher. You better come up with a home-based business. So that's my blessing. I meet people who share things with me, and I try to share with others because there's something going on in our community where we don't want to help anybody. We don't want to share information. And when you find people who share information, you're astonished because most people don't. But I do share, and I learn a lot. Well, the tutoring business has been going on since 2007. Fast forward to 2011. I was a special ed teacher at Kettering High School. I was also their union rep for 4 years. They kind of like what I do. I take what people do very seriously. I take your work seriously, and I take your money seriously. That brings me to the charity we started. I had great parents. My brothers would say the same. We had great parents for us. So when the parents died, we decided we were going to do something. We didn't know what, but we knew something was going to have to happen because we knew the parents, we knew they gave. I thank God as a 64-year-old, I'm amazed with the sacrificing they made for their 4 children. And when you see what each child has done in their lives, it's quite impressive from 2 people who came from nothing. So that brings me to education. Your parents are your first teachers. I am adamant about that. I'm also a parent and a grandparent. So that tells me those parents are very important. When I taught in Detroit Public Schools for 20 years, I only gave them 20 years. I got my pension and some benefits, thank you. But I knew I had to leave. When they started taking our money from 2010 to 2015, when the emergency managers came into the city of Detroit, keep in mind, I was a union rep for 4 years. I saw too much I didn't like. So I knew I was going to do a good job, but it was time to get out of Dodge. My salary came down $26,000 in 5 years. I have other teacher friends who came down 40 something thousand. People don't know the hurt they put on Detroit public school teachers. So I learned early. It wasn't about education. They don't want us really to educate our Black students. I know that because back in the 90s, I was a MEP head coach teacher at Bellevue Elementary School by Belle Isle. We outdid the state. The students in Detroit outdid the state on the MEP test for years. We gave that test to fourth graders in February. I will repeat that. We gave the MEP test to fourth graders in February. So I had time to get all teachers together, to get our students together to take a test. We did so well for so many years in Detroit public schools, outdoing the state on the MEP test. Someone decided we changed the test to giving it to third graders in October. What do you think happened to those scores?
They went down.
So that's right. I learned early. They really don't want us teaching our Black students. Fast forward until now. That's why I had to focus on that tutoring. The tutoring is half and half. I do half state and we do private. Private means we teach, tutor people's grandchildren, great-grandchildren, children. We don't make them pay too much. But the state, on the other hand, has more money. Grandson is here with me. He's trying to see who I'm talking to. Well, being a state vendor, that has taught me a lot. Say hi.
Hi, grandson.
That's grandson Peyton. That's Peyton. He's 5.
Hi, Peyton.
See you later. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now go play with
so
Peppa
cute.
Pig. Thank you. He's going to play with Peppa Pig now. But is a reason why we're on this earth. When we started the charity, we gave out $3,000 in 2023. Thank you, Dr. Pat and April, for donations. I do a lot of fundraising, but I'm going to get out of my pocket. So if anybody know of a grant writer, please send these people to me. I've researched some, but you got to find out who's going to do something. So right now, I've just been doing fundraising. We're selling seats for the scholarship dinner coming May 25th. This will be our 2nd year. And I also bring the young people back in December. We do a vision board party, and then we turn that into a round table with the expert panel. Our friend and cousin April Rice is on the line now. She was at the vision board party, and they loved the round table. Experts were there. My son talked about stocks. I had a friend talked about debit card versus credit card. One lady talked about whole life insurance versus term. So my focus is this. We all can do something. We're going to do something different because we're different people, because God has made us on purpose for a purpose. And I know my lane, and that's why I've been in my lane for a long time. And to others, it's impressive, but to me, it's what I'm supposed to do. So I know this is all bigger than me. It's not about Jackie. It's about my parents' legacy. And it's about giving back to the community that gives so much to us. And that ends what I'm going to say, Dr. Pat, unless you address me with a question.
Well, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Jackie? Because again, we started out with Ms. Barbara Selley, and we were talking about some problems, right? Problems in the school system, the fact that the children aren't going back to school. A lot of them, it's getting worse since after COVID. And someone's got to take charge of that to get these kids back in school. We also know that we need to have the parents working along with the educational school system, or maybe we just got to generate our own educational programs where we allow these children to come and teach them banking and teach them about insurance and teach them about entrepreneurship and find out what their strengths and their weaknesses are, and go from there. And we can do that collectively. On this call right now, we have enough people that can make a difference. And that's what it's all about, is being able to give back, because too much is given, much is definitely required. And I just thank God each and every day for being able to obtain my education. I have 3 sons. They're all college graduates. They're all doing well. Why? It's back to that foundation. It's back to parenting, as Miss Jackie was saying, and there's a lot of parents out here that don't even know what to do with the kids, because, everybody's at the party. Everybody's out there trying to be young. Everybody's doing whatever that's not even worth anything. And so that's what they want in this society. We start looking at the politics that are going on, and I'm not going to get too detailed about that today, because what I will have guest speakers, and it will be bipartisan. It's not going to be one way to the left or one way to the right, because I'm really in the middle, you all. I see both sides. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe also in women's rights and voting rights and everybody's rights. Why are we trying to take rights from people? What are we really trying to do in today's society, ladies and gentlemen? And I'm telling you, if we don't wake up, and that might not be a good word anymore, because they take one word, they turn it into another word. I don't even know what word to use anymore. But what I am going to say is that it starts here, and it starts today. Jackie, you mentioned that you needed someone regarding grant writing. Barbara and I were talking about that today, and we know a couple people, and she's been involved in some of the grant writing. So there you go. There's a solution right there. We're going to be about.
Oh, thank you. I will be reaching out. Thank
Oh, she
you.
got excited. That woke her up. So I'm just saying, you
Yes.
guys, I want you guys to understand this is the beginning. It's not about me, and a lot of you all on here know about me. I'll tell my story as I go along with that. It's not about me. It's about we. It's about teamwork. It's about getting together, educating our people, making sure people are aware of what's going on. Most people aren't even listening to the news. They're listening to sound bites. Sound bites, you can say anything you want with a sound bite. Somebody could take something we said today and snip it, and it sounds like it's something totally different, because it's in another text. We have to be smart. We have to understand, why is it that people all of a sudden take an interest in us, or they're on the news saying that they're all supporting this and they're supporting that. Listen, we have to stand up for our rights. We have to vote. We have to make sure that we get our young folks voting. And just because somebody decides to throw some money out there, that's trying to buy a vote. Let's think about it. And some of these young folks scare me when they tell me why they want to vote for a particular person or how they want to do things. And they don't even have a clue. They don't even have a fight in them. Our ancestors fought for our rights, for us to have what we have. Do you all understand that our generation, our children will not surpass our generation when it comes to education and when it comes to money? We're going backwards. We're backsliding, ladies and gentlemen. And we cannot do that in this country, in our cities, in our towns. We have to get involved. So that is my little spiel for today. And these are going to be some quick podcasts. I don't want it long and drawn out. I just want to hit it and quit it and give you guys what you need. Does anyone have any comments or questions at this point? Please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Um, I've heard some stuff I ain't never heard of.
Okay.
Because I'm a grandmother and a great grandmother. So it's been many, many years since I have had to deal with the school system. But it's like, as Miss Barbara was speaking, I didn't know where to start. Do we start with the parents? And I said, no, they act like they don't care. So you, I just don't know where to start,
Right.
because some young people, sometimes it seems like just a few young people I talk to, unless their parents are involved, they act like they're very hopeless. They really do. I have talked to them, I have, just like I said in the chat, I've never heard they got to set aside money, bring some toilet tissue to school. What? You know, I said, what is going on? I
Mhm.
don't know whether we should start with the school system or the superintendents, or I don't know. It seems like to me like there would be a deeper problem, and we might need to go to the superintendent to ask him what he feels is wrong. I do know some of the things that used to be in school systems, they're no longer in the school systems. Like some of the sports are still ongoing, but you don't hardly hear about swimming, or as you said, we don't hear about, games, or just some of the teaching is gone, and I don't know.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
just don't know.
And I understand what you're
I
saying,
just
Ms.
don't.
Darla, because I was talking with Barbara earlier and I said, what? They have to bring wash machines to the school or, and I don't have any grandchildren yet. So I'm not in the education system, but I do hear, some of you guys know I did run for state representative last year. They asked me to do it. I did it at the last minute. I did 6 months in an area that was only 3% Black, 14% Asian, and the rest was all Caucasian. I ended up getting 22,000 votes. And my opponent, who's already in office, he ended up getting maybe 1,500 votes more than me. So I think I did pretty good not to ever have been a politician and to get people to vote for me. And I think it's because people are tired. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I would knock at the door and say, I'm sorry, but I'm not a politician. They said, well, we'll vote for you then. In other words, and I just told them I'm not red or blue, I'm purple. It depends on the topic. It depends on what's going on, because I'm for everybody doing what they can for themselves. And I'm not for supporting people that there's not trying to make a life for themselves, but I am for equity, and I am for trying to make sure that we are aware of what's going on. Most people, I'm sorry to say, just like you, Ms. Darla, we're really not aware. We really don't hear this, because if we don't want to listen to the news and you're trying to read between the lines every time somebody make a statement these days, people are just tuning out. They want us, and our young folks,
Right.
they want to smoke weed, they want to pop pills, they want to, there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of good things happening, but there's a lot of things that are happening too to allow people to not be engaged. And that's a key.
Yes.
So, it's just
Yes.
going to be important for us to build a rapport, and it's reach one, teach one, baby. I think that's the best way. You can go to the superintendent, but the superintendent is probably more frustrated than we are, because they're trying to figure out what to do. It starts from the ground up. It has to start from the parents. There's only so much they could do in a school when, they only have so many resources. I have a couple nieces, they're school teachers because they love children, but they're not making the money. They got to dig in their pockets for pencils and paper, and it's just a war all the way around. So yeah, we've got to
Yeah.
support ourselves, support each other, and within our communities. And this is happening all over the country. So thank you so
Well,
much. Yes.
no, I'm sorry. I just hear that even the parent teachers conference, they can't get the parents to come to the parent teacher conferences. Well, if they don't go to the parent teacher conferences, how you gonna get them to do anything else? And
Well,
I'm
right. And I know one of the
you
educators
know,
was saying that they would give the kids incentives if you get your parents to come to parent teacher. Ain't that crazy? Hey, we're gonna do a
yes.
drawing and somebody's gonna win $100 tonight. Tell your parents they gotta show
Yeah.
up to
Oh,
get
yeah,
paid.
they get there.
I mean, I
Yeah,
could
they'll
see
get there.
myself
Mm,
coming up with something like that, but it's a shame because we didn't have to do that for our parents. They showed up and we didn't want them to show up.
right. Oh, my mama showed up at everywhere. She better hear about the grades. She better hear I got the grades that she wanted to hear. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
Absolutely. So it's just a new time. It's a new generation. We got new style parents. We have a lot of single parents, but I said that's not even an excuse because, I mean, I became a single parent after being married for 17 years, and I had to do what I had to do to make sure that my sons got their proper education, that they were fed, that they, lived in a good environment and all of that. And it wasn't always easy, but as parents, these kids didn't ask to be here, right? So it's just so important that we promote each other, And you guys have done an excellent job. Ms. Jacquelyn Frederick Jones and Ms. Barbara Selley, again, retired public school teachers, you're educators. I really, really appreciate you guys coming on. And if no one else has any other comments or questions, I'm going to let us go. And guess what? I want you to tune in again next Tuesday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, we start on time and we end on time. We're not going to drag it out. That's what makes people want to listen in and learn and educate themselves on what's going on. And again, my whole thing is, even during my campaign, is that I believe in educating, right? Motivating and elevating our communities. So with that, does anyone else have anything else to say?
Well, I enjoyed myself, Dr. Pat, and ladies and gentlemen. I had a wonderful time.
It was wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for contributing. And we all have something to contribute. Every last one of you guys on here are on here because you're awesome people. You have supported us. Thank you, Miss April Rice, for putting together our flyers and helping us coordinate. I know you've been working a lot with Miss Jackie with her foundation, her scholarship program. And
She
you
does
know,
all our flyers. She gets paid.
okay, so I thank you for doing that. And you know, we just have to all work together to make our society a better life. So thank you so much. And I need you guys, when that flyer come out with our next topic, give me some suggestions on whatever it is you want to know about, because we can go in so many different directions. Again, we're talking about education. We're going to be talking about training. We're going to be talking about relationships between men and women. That's going to get spicy. We're going to also be talking about, you know, traveling the world, and how to put together a will versus a trust. Whatever it is to educate our community, that's what we're going to do on Real Talk for You. So bye for now, and you all have a blessed evening.
You as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you. Thank you. Good
Okay.
night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night.